There's a Banana Republic t-shirt in my closet that still has the tags on it. I bought it 3 months ago, told myself I'd wear it when I felt like someone who shops at Banana Republic on purpose, not by accident. Every morning, I scroll right past it, like it's not even mine yet. Like I'm keeping it warm for a version of me that doesn't slouch when he walks, or eats cereal out of a mixing bowl because he hasn't done dishes in 4 days. That shirt just hangs there, smug as hell. But something weird happened last week. I woke up, looked at the shirt, and didn't scroll past it. I wore it. No special reason, no big moment. I just pulled it over my head, threw on some decent joggers, and laced up the new sneakers I'd been saving for the apocalypse, or maybe a date with someone way out of my league. The most exciting part of my day was supposed to be walking my dog Rufus, who's part golden retriever, part shedding machine, all heart. He's also a better judge of character than I'll ever be. I clipped his leash, we hit the park, and that's when I saw her, Sadie Quinn. She had this sun-washed denim jacket, a golden retriever of her own, and the kind of energy that made you want to step into the moment like it was a warm bath. She was tossing a tennis ball underhand, graceful like someone who takes yoga seriously but doesn't talk about it all the time. Now, I've seen plenty of beautiful women in that park, but I've also walked through it looking like a lost extra from a laundry detergent commercial, baggy t-shirt, gym shorts that should have been retired during the Obama administration, and sneakers that scream, "We've been through things." So usually I keep to myself. Let Rufus sniff a few trees, scroll my phone, leave invisible. But that day, in the good shirt, something shifted. I straightened up. Smelled like cedarwood and bergamot. Felt like a man who might just ask a question out loud. "Your dog always hogged the tennis ball like that, or is he just showing off for Rufus?" Sadie looked over, grinned. Her dog dropped the ball at Rufus's feet like he'd been trained for this exact moment. "He's dramatic. I think he's got an audience complex," she said. "Yours is cute. What's his name?" "Rufus. He answers to that and the sound of snacks." We laughed. Easy, natural. And somehow, before I could retreat into my usual self-deprecation spiral, I was asking her if she knew any dog-friendly spots to grab food. 10 minutes later, we were walking to a sushi place I'd passed 100 times, but never had the nerve to walk into. Turns out she owned a flower shop just off Main called Wild Petal. She talked about peonies like they were old friends, had a laugh that made you want to keep talking just to hear it again. 3 hours, that's how long we hung out. Sushi turned into a walk, which turned into iced coffees and some weird bookstore with an aggressive cat and a broken air conditioner. When I got home, Ray was stretched across the couch like it owed him rent, flipping channels with one hand, nursing a craft beer with the other. "You smell like outside and risk," he said without looking up. "I met someone," I replied, kicking off my sneakers and tossing Rufus a treat. That got his attention. He sat up like I'd just told him we won the lottery and the prize was a tour bus. "Wait, did you actually talk to a human being willingly? While wearing the good sneakers?" "Yep. Sadie, she's got a dog, owns a flower shop, likes sushi. So basically, your dream woman plus carbs." I didn't respond, just smiled, because I didn't want to jinx it. There was this hum in my chest, something soft and unfamiliar. Not love, not yet, but something like the idea of it. Waking up, Ray raised his beer. "To future you, for finally showing up." I clinked his bottle with my water glass. We both knew the joke, but the truth was, I wasn't trying to be future me anymore. Just trying to be present me, with better posture and less self-sabotage. Later that night I stood in my cluttered bedroom, looking at that Banana Republic shirt crumpled on the floor. I picked it up, smoothed it out, and folded it like it mattered. Maybe tomorrow I'd finally order that ergonomic chair. Maybe I'd open that bottle of cologne I kept saving. Maybe I'd stop waiting for a perfect version of my life to deserve the good parts. Maybe I already did. The first thing I did that morning was not check my phone. That alone felt like a small revolution. Instead, I stood in front of my desk and stared down the folding chair like it had personally wronged me. I had owned that chair since college. It was flimsy, loud, and had left a permanent dent in the carpet. For years, it had been my throne of procrastination. My back hated it. My legs hated it. But somehow I kept telling myself, when the business really takes off, then I'll upgrade. Newsflash, the business took off a year ago, but I was still clinging to that chair like it had sentimental value. It didn't. It just represented how much I didn't think I deserved more. I opened my laptop, browsed standing desks, read 15 reviews, watched a YouTube video about posture from a chiropractor who looked suspiciously like a magician, and finally, Finally, clicked the order button. Then I tossed the chair in the alley like I was breaking up with someone who never supported me. Ray saw me dragging it out and stepped onto the balcony, toothbrush hanging from his mouth. "We burying someone?" "Yeah." My spine. It finally gave up. Rest in posture. Back inside, I rearranged the whole room, moved the desk, cleared out 3 drawers full of tangled cords and expired coupons. The whole space breathed easier. It wasn't just about furniture. It was about proof. Proof that I could make a change and actually follow through. That I wasn't just a guy with good intentions and zero execution. Ray wandered in later, looking for his headphones. He glanced around. "Whoa, what is this? Feng shui with a vengeance?" "More like grown man gets tired of working like he still lives in a dorm." "I dig it," he said, and then paused. "You ever think maybe the reason you feel stuck is because your space is stuck?" He had a point. And the annoying part was that Ray never gave advice seriously. He just dropped little philosophical grenades and walked off to make coffee. That night, I made a list. Not a bucket list, not a 5-year plan. Just a list of stupidly simple things I'd been putting off. Frame that print that's been sitting on the floor since I moved in. Buy a real office chair. Call my dad back. Try that gym that offers a free week. Cook something that doesn't involve a microwave. Nothing heroic. Just proof that I could stop waiting. Meanwhile, Ray had his own stuff going on. I found him one evening staring at his old guitar, like it was a stranger. He used to tour a bit, open mics, festivals, even a summer on the road with a ska band no one's heard of. Then life caught up, and he traded strings for drink orders. "You thinking of playing again?" I asked. He shrugged. "I think I'm just tired of saying I used to." We didn't need to say more than that. It hit me. We were both living on pause. Me in my workspace, him and his music. 2 different flavors of the same loop. So we made a pact. Nothing dramatic. Just that once a week, we'd each do one thing we'd been avoiding. I'd upgrade something in my routine. He'd play something. Anything. And we'd hold each other to it. The next week, he sent me a clip of a half-finished song he recorded in his closet. It was raw, messy, but it had a pulse. I replied with a photo of my new desk setup, monitor mounted, chair delivered, the print framed and on the wall, finally looking like it belonged. We didn't high-five or celebrate. We just nodded at each other like 2 guys slowly stepping out of their own shadows. Because sometimes transformation doesn't look like a sunrise or a lightning bolt. Sometimes it looks like a new chair and a bad recording. But it feels like a beginning. There's this thing that happens when you start changing your life. It doesn't ask for your permission to rearrange everything else along the way. After the chair and the desk and the framed print, I started waking up earlier. At first, it was just 20 minutes to stretch and not doom scroll. Then it became a full hour of quiet, where I drank real coffee and stared out the window like some zen middle-aged dad in a Subaru ad. But here's the catch. Growth has a side effect. It exposes everything else that's still stuck. My mornings were great. My days, cleaner. But my nights? They were war zones of overthinking. I'd sit on the couch, dinner plate balanced on one knee, trying to binge something mindless. Meanwhile, my brain was filing a full report on every unfinished idea I'd ever had. Ray noticed. "You've been real interior lately," he said, using the word like it was foreign. "You all right?" "Yeah, just adjusting." "To what?" I didn't have a clean answer. What do you call the slow, awkward work of becoming someone you can respect? Ray was on his own grind. He started hitting open mics again. First time, he came home swearing he bombed, said his voice cracked and the guy in the front row yawned on beat. But then he got a text from a stranger who said his song made her cry. So he went again. And again. It was like we were testing gravity, throwing ourselves out there just to see if we'd float. Meanwhile, I had a client meeting that shook me. One of those big shot marketing guys, all sharp edges and confidence. He liked my pitch, nodded a lot, and then said, "You could charge double if your brand didn't look like it was built in a garage." That stung. Because he was right. My site was functional, my portfolio solid. But everything about it whispered, "Don't look too closely." I went home, opened my browser, and stared at my own homepage like it had just insulted my mother. So I spent the weekend tearing it down. New design. Better photos. Wrote a bio that didn't sound like it was written by a guy hiding behind humility. I even added a picture of myself. Full face, no filter. That felt like putting my name on the wall of a building. Sadie texted during that weekend. Just a, "Hey, how's your week?" But I took half a day to respond. Not because I didn't want to talk, but because I wasn't sure how to explain that I was caught in a cage of my own making and busy trying to melt the bars. We hadn't talked much since that walk. Nothing bad had happened. But I think she sensed the shift. Sometimes, when people see you trying to evolve, they step back, not out of disinterest, but because they're giving you space to become who you're trying to be. She sent one more text a few days later. "Hope you're still showing up for yourself. The world needs more of that." I didn't reply right away, but I did save it. Later that week, I walked past a mirror in a coffee shop. Didn't recognize the guy for half a second. Button-up shirt, clean shoes, tired eyes, yeah, but focused, grounded. That moment shook me more than the marketing guy did. I called my dad that night. We hadn't spoken in almost 6 months. The call was awkward, full of the usual filler, but we talked. About his bad knees and the neighbor's leaf blower, and how he still doesn't trust online banking. It wasn't profound, but it was something. Progress, I realized, wasn't glamorous. It wasn't a montage with indie rock playing in the background. It was choppy, uneven. A beautiful mess of early mornings and rewrites and overcooked chicken and awkward conversations with people you care about. One night, Ray and I sat on the balcony. He had his guitar. I had a beer. We didn't say much. He strummed a little. I stared at the city like it might offer me a clue. "You think we're getting somewhere?" I asked. He shrugged. "Feels like I'm walking uphill and the air's getting clearer." I nodded. "Yeah. That." We sat in the silence. Comfortable, earned silence. And in that stillness, I felt the cracks, the ones I used to hide, stretch just wide enough to let some light in. Not perfect, not finished, but breaking in the right direction. It started with socks. Not flashy ones, just a clean pair, every day, no holes, no last-minute sniff test. A small, dumb ritual that became something sacred. I'd line them up in the drawer, fold them like I actually cared about how my feet felt. And weirdly, I did. From there, it snowballed. I set my alarm for 6:45, not 7 o'clock. Just 15 minutes, but that was the point. Small wins, early. I made my bed before coffee. Not because I'm a Navy SEAL, but because walking past a made bed makes you feel like the kind of person who keeps their promises. The rituals weren't about productivity. They were about proof. Proof I could rely on myself. Ray noticed. He walked into the kitchen one morning, saw me actually plating breakfast, eggs, toast, even some avocado, and squinted like he'd stepped into a parallel universe. "You all right, man? You cooking for someone I should know about?" "Yeah, me." He nodded but didn't press, just grabbed a banana and said, "This timeline's getting weird." By the end of that week, I'd added journaling to the mix. Not poetic stuff, just a half page of mental house cleaning. Wins, losses, and one thing I did better than yesterday. That entry on Thursday? Didn't hit snooze. Took a real shower. Emailed the client back without rereading it 10 times. Huge. I stopped dodging the mirror, bought a razor that didn't come from a gas station, and started shaving like I had plans. Even on days when I didn't. Ray, meanwhile, was back in the thick of music. Not chasing fame. Just chasing the feeling. He cleared out the storage closet and turned it into a makeshift studio. I helped him hang egg cartons and string lights. He told me I was ruining his punk cred with the fairy bulbs. I told him he'd ruined his punk cred the day he started using beard oil. We laughed more. Not because everything was perfect, but because we were in motion, finally. There was one day that nearly unraveled me. I had a pitch for a new client. Big one. One of those names people drop in LinkedIn bios to sound cooler than they are. I'd prepped for it like a man obsessed. Notes, design mock-ups, even a new button-down shirt that didn't wrinkle if I breathed too hard. And I bombed it. Not spectacularly. Just, meh. The client was polite but cold, said they were going another direction. I stared at the email for an hour, then closed the laptop, heart sinking like I'd been scammed by my own ambition. Old me would have spiraled. Grabbed takeout, crawled into bed, maybe avoided eye contact with sunlight for a few days, but instead I went for a run. Not far, not fast. But I ran, badly, on purpose. Felt the air slap my lungs. Felt like I was telling my body, "We're still in this." When I got back, sweaty and sore, there was a note on the fridge. Ray had scrawled it on a napkin. "Failed forward. That's the game. Try again, socks first." I laughed, poured water. Took a shower that almost felt redemptive. Later that night, I found a half-read book on my shelf, one I'd bought a year ago about changing habits. I flipped to the dog-eared page and started reading again. This time, the words stuck. Not because they were new, but because I was. The rituals continued. Not every day perfectly. Some mornings I slept in. Some nights I ate cereal straight from the box. But the difference was, I didn't let those moments define the whole week. That weekend, I helped Ray record vocals. His voice cracked on one chorus. He swore, laughed, and did it again. "Keep that take," he said. "It sounds honest." I realized then, that's all any of us are trying to be. Honest. Present. In the room, doing the work. No future version of me was coming to save the day. So I kept showing up. Socks first. You never really arrive, that's the truth. I kept circling around like a drain. For a long time, I thought there'd be a day when I'd wake up and finally become the guy that first was always waiting to be. The guy with answers. With rhythm. With clean floors and a calendar full of purpose. But that day never came. What came instead were choices. Do the thing or don't. Show up or don't. Wear the good shirt or let it sit another day. Small things. Every day. The version of me I'd been holding out for? Turns out he wasn't coming. Because he was already here. It was a Tuesday when it really sank in. Mid-morning, slow day. I had just wrapped a project early. The inbox was quiet. Rufus lay sprawled in the sun like he was modeling for a dog food ad. I looked around my apartment. The same walls, same windows, but it didn't feel like the same place. There was order now, a rhythm. My desk faced the light. There were framed prints on the wall. I even had a plant I hadn't killed. I caught my reflection in the microwave door. No epic transformation. Still me, but with clearer eyes. Straighter shoulders. Like I'd been living beneath a low ceiling and finally stood tall enough to push it open. Ray wandered in, carrying 2 coffees and a folder stuffed with lyrics. "You writing your memoir over there, Mr. Reflective?" "Just thinking." "Dangerous." He handed me a coffee. Black, no sugar, the good stuff. We stood there for a minute, drinking in the kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. "Got a gig Friday," he said. "Small place. But it's real." "You nervous?" "Yeah, but I like it. Means I'm still in the game." That hit me. We were both still in the game. Not killing it. Not coasting. But in it. I spent that afternoon finally launching a side project I'd been sitting on for over a year. A site where I'd post short-form creative work. Real stuff. No overthinking. No filters. Just ideas, shipped into the world. I didn't blast it on socials or make a big announcement. Just quietly published the first post and sent the link to a few close friends. Later, I got a text from Sadie. Just 3 words. "You did it." That was all. But it felt like someone seeing the full arc, even if they'd only watched part of the climb. The next night, Ray played his set. The venue was small, maybe 30 people, but the energy was thick and buzzing. I watched him from the back, mouthing the lyrics to a song I'd heard in a rough recording on a Tuesday night 6 weeks earlier. Afterward, we sat outside on the curb, eating tacos from a truck parked half a block away. "You ever think," Ray said, wiping salsa from his chin, "how most of life is just getting over the fear of looking stupid? Every day." He clinked his soda can against mine. "To looking slightly less stupid than yesterday." We both laughed. I walked home that night thinking about how quiet real change is. How it doesn't shout. It doesn't post about itself. It just is. You eat a little better. You stop skipping leg day. You show up. You reply to messages. You take the walk. You write the thing. You start living like you already deserve the life you want. Now, the good shirt is just a shirt. The cologne's half gone. The ergonomic chair squeaks a little. And none of it is waiting for a better version of me. It's all being used by the one who finally showed up. Not perfect, not finished. But here, this version of us will do just fine.